Hey everyone, welcome to today's vlog episode. In today's vlog, I am in day 2 of the $1,700 buy-in circuit event at the Horseshoe. This is their main event. It is a ring event. So while we are in day 2, we are not actually in the money. We started with big blind 5K. This is early big blind 6K. We're getting somewhat close to the money, but still have a little ways to go. So in this hand history, big blind 6,000, I have 280K to start the hand. My opponent in the hand is Dylan Linde, absolutely amazing player, really nice guy as well. He has 500K in under the gun one, and he raises to 13K, so 2.2 times big blind. I am in the big blind with the ace of diamonds and the 8 of hearts. So if we're looking at his opening range, early position, 40 big blinds is one of the loosest opening ranges for stacked up, 18.6% for early position. That is a very loose opening range for EP. The reason why it's a little bit looser is that stacked up essentially has the most playability relative to being shallow enough that we can open those offsuit broadways, and then being deep enough that we can take some thinner opens because we can afford to risk a little bit more of our stack. So it's that perfect in between where we get to play the loosest amount of range for the early position spot at the table. I do expect him to be opening around this 18.6%. It wouldn't surprise me if he's opening looser though, because of getting kind of close to the bubble. I don't think he's going to go past like 25% here. The main hands I would expect him to add into this: ace-2 suited in full, these in full, probably those in full, maybe these as well, maybe threes and deuces in full, queen-jack off in full, king-10 off in full, ace-9 off in full. I don't think he'll go past that. It wouldn't surprise me if he is just folding these, but ace-2 suited, 9-8 suited, these in full, and ace-9 off in full wouldn't surprise me. So he's probably going to be right around there. Now my response to this is supposed to be, so 40 big blinds in the big blind versus an EP open. As we can see here, ace-8 off here is a very clear defend, but we also can 3-bet these offsuit ace-x a little bit too. The fact that we're kind of close to the money, I would be completely okay with 3-betting these. It should leverage really well, it should look unbelievably strong. These hands don't really have that great post-flop playability either. So I think because I gain some fold equity versus slightly too loose range, I probably should 3-bet this pre-flop instead of what I did, which I called it. I still think calling is perfectly fine, but this is a really good 3-bet bluff spot that I probably should have taken. So I think I made a small mistake here, but I think it's fine. Anyways, I defend my ace of diamonds, 8 of hearts in the big blind. So pot size going to the flop is 35K. So the flop is the ace of spades, the 9 of hearts, and the 5 of diamonds. In the big blind, obviously, I am pure checking. This is a spot that is super duper easy. I know it's a check. Y'all should know it's a check. His range is definitely at a fairly significant range advantage here, obviously. But I do have a lot of hands that get to continue. That being said, he's going to be c-betting this probably pure. Pretty close to it, I would expect. Yeah, I think I'm going to say he has 0 checks. The vast majority of his range is going small, and then a low percentage going 2/3 would be my guess, and maybe a tiny percent going pot. But I would assume he is checking 0, largely going quarter pot. So I check. He is checking, 0, largely going quarter pot. I was right about the 2/3. I was wrong about the pot though. Yeah, I thought this would be like 3% or less. I did think that this would be like 25 to 35%, but I figured this wouldn't be this high. I guess the reason why this is probably this high is because he's in early position. A larger portion of his range are those high, are these types of hands here: ace-10, ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-king, all these ace-x. It's a larger portion of his overall range. And with my big blind defend, it's a smaller portion of my overall range that has an ace in it. On top of that, the other reason why he's going pot so frequently is he gets to barrel, he wants to barrel on a lot of different turn cards. He probably gets to barrel pretty often on deuces, 3s, and 4s. Probably gets to barrel pretty often on 7s, 8s, 10s, jacks, queens, and kings. The only hands that he's probably, or the only card that he's very high frequency checking back is probably a 9. And every other card he's probably betting at very high frequencies. So anytime you see that this number, that the pot or 2/3 pot numbers are larger than what you would expect, larger frequency, it's probably because you're missing, like I just did here, the fact that the type of range advantage that he's at, but on top of that, what percent of his range gets to barrel. And anytime their barrel percentage on the turn is very, very high, usually their flop sizes skew higher as well. So he went 1/3 pot, so small size. With my ace 8, I have an easy call. I'm going to have pretty low frequency check raises, probably around 10% would be my guess. I'm largely going to be folding, and I'm largely, if I'm not folding, I'm pretty much calling for the most part too. So 12%, a little bit larger check raises here too. I missed that. So about 15% check raise, but I figured this would be around this 10-ish%. So obviously largely folding. Ace 8 here, we have a very easy call. Yeah, so we have an easy call. Turn is the 3 of diamonds, so bringing backdoor flush draw with the low wheel card. Obviously, I am still pure checking this. The only card that I really get to lead a lot on is a 9. So vast majority of time, I am checking to him. And with this ace 8, I am pure checking, obviously. So I think when I check this card, I think he's supposed to barrel pretty high frequency and largely going 2/3 pot. Maybe he checks back like 15-20% of the time. I'm sure it's pretty low. Ooh, 50%. That's pretty high. Interesting. Yep, not going small at all. Largely going 2/3. He does get to pot a decent amount too, though, which is kind of cool. I would have figured at this stacked up that he would have less pot sizes because of just, we're not that deep effective. But I guess on the turn, if he pots, pot size going to the river is going to be, oh no, it is geometric. Never mind. Okay, I just did math wrong. So I guess when he goes 1/4 on flop, then potting turn and potting river sets up turn to river geometric. So it makes sense that he gets a pot more frequently than I thought. And honestly, I definitely would have expected the 2/3 pot to be way the dominant size. So again, spot that I need to work on a little bit better. While I did get these sizes a little wrong, I figured it would favor 2/3 and not go pot as much. The main thing that I think is really important is understanding that these are spots that you get to go large in and get to go fairly large in fairly often. Whether you nail it exactly, whether it's supposed to be 15% going pot here of his range or 25%. I don't think it's going to drastically change, your EV overall in this situation. And also the other thing as well is when we're studying theory, even when we're studying a really well-built database like ours, at the end of the day, poker is still about analyzing situations and analyzing opponents and making good decisions based off of the information you have available and adjusting to that information. Learning this theory is about building a fundamental framework to your game and how you think about and approach situations as a baseline only. If you do that, work on your game, you improve with it, but in game, you still need to think, still need to analyze what is your opponent doing and why they're doing that, and then based off of your exact hand for that exact situation, what is your best decision? All right, okay, so I check. He's going to check this back. The river is the king of diamonds. So that backdoor flush draw comes in. So on this river card, I figured in game, since I am out of position, since turn 1 check check, that I'm going to have a lot of hands in my range that kind of want to block bet. And that just wanted to go 15% pot. As you can see here, I completely and totally butchered that. So study, 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 work, 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 volume, 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 and it's still difficult. Okay, so in game, I figured that I could block bet with my 25% pot. The reason why is I figured if I go 25% pot, I would get called by 9x hands. I get called by his 8, essentially pocket 8s plus. So 8s, 9x, 10s, jacks, queens, all of his king x hands that he decided to check back turn with. I figure I'd get called by all those hands, or I might induce some raises. And inducing a raise You know, kind of scary. If you look at my hand, I have the ace of diamonds in it. That's a really important card on this backdoor flush run out. Blocking the nuts, very, very, very important. So when I bet a quarter pot, I did so with the intention of snapping off a raise very, very, very happily. I did that. So he raises fairly large. He goes a bit bigger than this. Let's see what my ace-8 is supposed to do versus raise. I figured in-game that I am pure calling and I'm snapping it off and I'm so happy with it. It is great. I get to win this hand. But I can win the hand more often if I jam. So let's look at this. Okay, so it does only call. So in that sense, I did not mess this up. I definitely made the best theory decision I could. But what if I bluff jam? Okay, so here, ace of diamonds, jack of clubs is bluffing. So the idea is there. Look at this. Ace of diamonds, ace of diamonds, ace of diamonds. Ace 5 with the ace of diamonds, ace of diamonds. Look at these. These are all bluff jams. When I shove for 69% pop, nice. What is he calling with? Well, okay, I don't think he ever has a set of nines, so that doesn't exist. Square size proportional this. Aces with ace of diamonds. Okay, he's probably checking back aces with the ace of diamonds on the turn. He also might check this back on. No, I guess he's never checking back on flop. Aces with the ace of diamonds. That he could have, but I have the ace of diamonds in my hand, so he literally can't have that. Kings. I don't think he's going to call kings. Ace 10 of diamonds, I block. I block. Ace 9, he's barreling turn anyways. I block. I block. I block. I block. It's like the only hands he gets to call me with are queen high flushes, jack high flushes, 10 high flushes, 9 high flushes. But the thing is when I jam the river, what bluffs do I have? I have exactly the type of hand that I have. Ace of diamonds, X. And in game, I did not consider bluffing this at all. Which I think means if I bluff jam the river, he probably just unhappily calls his 3 queen high flushes and he folds everything else. So what did I learn today? I learned that I understand flop pretty well. I understand the turn okay. And I completely and totally butchered this hand on the river because I had no idea that I was supposed to not really block bet ever. A small percentage, but not really supposed to block bet. And my exact hand exactly just doesn't choose my small size at all ever. And then on top of that, I learned that I should still think through the river, even in a spot that I think I understand really well and had a good plan going into it, or what I figured was a good plan going into it. So, moral of the story, study a lot more. Theory's kind of fake. Think while playing. Stay safe and healthy out there. Best of luck at the tables. Thank you very much for watching. See ya!